All right, so when the father of modern linguistics and one of the foundational thinkers behind AI speaks out about today's AI revolution, we should probably listen. So Noam Chomsky, now in his 90s, has been watching ChatGPT and other large language models take the world by storm, and his verdict isn't what the tech bros want to hear. So after 25 years in software development, I've learned to value the perspective of pioneers who laid the groundwork for what we're building today, even when they're critical. Today we're diving into Chomsky's controversial take on modern AI, why he thinks it's fundamentally flawed, and whether his critics will value this thought and his counterpoints or not. Let's take a look. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thomason. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps and build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, most people don't realize that Noam Chomsky theories about language in the 1950s and 1960s were foundational to the development of artificial intelligence as a field. His revolutionary idea is that humans have an innate language faculty, a built-in capability to learn and use language, challenged the behaviorist view that dominated psychology at the time. Chomsky argued that our minds contain a universal grammar, innate structures that enable us to acquire any human language despite limited exposure. This concept of innate mental structures directly influenced early AI researchers who tried to build systems with built-in rules and representations. The symbolic AI approach that dominated the field for decades was deeply aligned with Chomsky's view that intelligence requires structured representations, not just statistical patterns. So when Chomsky criticized modern AI, he's not speaking as an outsider, but as someone whose ideas helped to shape the field. Now, Chomsky's central criticisms around large language models like ChatGPT is that they're merely high-tech, and this is a quote from him, high-tech versions of the parlor game where one person starts a sentence and the other person continues it, end quote. He argues that these systems don't understand language in any meaningful sense. They simply recognize statistical patterns in massive text data sets. In Chomsky's view, true understanding requires grasping causality, the why behind the language, not just predicting what words typically follow others. So after working with countless code bases over 25 years, I can tell you there's a world of difference between code that works by accident and code that works because the developer truly understands the underlying principles. Chomsky says language models have no connection to reality. They're just word salad generators. That's a quote from him, that occasionally produce coherent text through sheer statistical power. Now, the thing is they're getting better and better at making this right, so a lot of the masses are following this, right? And they are useful, right? But the statistical approach might produce impressive outputs, which it has. But Chomsky argues that it tells us nothing about how human minds actually work or what genuine understanding entails. Now, if your company has systems that aren't connected, let us help you out, because here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems to help your company work like a well-oiled machine. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer and we can help you out. All right. So now Chomsky believes a fundamental aspect of human language is that it connects our minds to the world around us, something that he claims AI completely lacks. When we say the cup is on the table, we're not just arranging words according to statistical patterns. We're referring to an actual object and a relationship in the physical world. Language models have no sensory experience to the world. They've never seen a cup, felt its weight, or placed it on a table. They've only encountered text describing these actions. This absence of grounding in reality means that AI can generate plausible sounding nonsense about square circles or colorless green ideas sleeping furiously, without recognizing the contradictions. So I've seen this issue in software development when team members don't understand the real world domain they're coding for. They can write syntactically correct code that's completely wrong for the actual business context. Chomsky argues that without this connection to reality, AI systems are fundamentally limited in their ability to generate meaningful outputs rather than just statistically probable ones. Now I'm going to add something on top of that, because my opinion here is that part of the reason is ultimately we as humans understand the context, right? In AI, we're hearing a lot about context window. What size is the context window that you're being able to give this LLM? And it's because basically that's the background. Have you ever walked into a conversation and somebody said something and then they're like, oh, it's an inside joke, right? You wouldn't understand. It's because you don't have that context. You don't have the background of that experience. That's the problem with these LLMs and with the AI of today. It can't get enough context to actually think human. Now, They've tried to scale it so that we can make the context basically the entire universe, and that's just simply hasn't still done it. So another critical Chomskyan criticism is that AI systems lack a theory of mind. They don't understand that others have beliefs, desires, and intentions different from their own. Human communication depends on this understanding. When I tell you something, I'm assuming you don't already know it and that you might find it useful or interesting. Language models have no concept of what you know or don't know. They're just predicting what text would likely follow your prompt based on patterns they've seen. This missing theory of mind is why AI often produces responses that are technically accurate but completely miss the point of what you're asking. So I've encountered the same issue with junior developers who haven't yet learned to anticipate how others will read and interpret their code. They write for the computer, not for the human who will maintain it later. Chomsky sees this limitation as evidence that AI isn't truly intelligent in a meaningful sense. It's just mimicking patterns without a genuine understanding. Now, Chomsky believes humans are born with certain innate mental structures that make language acquisition possible. We're not just blinking states that learn everything through experience. This poverty of stimulus, as he calls it, argument notes that children acquire complex language rules despite having limited exposure to examples, suggesting we have built-in mechanisms for language. Now, modern AI takes the opposite approach. It assumes no innate knowledge and learns purely through exposure to massive amounts of text data. Chomsky sees this as a fundamentally misguided, like trying to build a bird that flies by giving it millions of videos of birds flying instead of designing wings based on aerodynamic principles. So I've seen the same pattern when teams try to solve problems by throwing more data at them rather than improving the underlying architecture. This philosophical disagreement about whether structure or experiences primarily represents one of the deepest divides between Chomsky and modern AI research. Now, Chomsky argues that human language is fundamentally creative. We routinely produce and understand sentences we've never encountered before, or think of this as when we make up silly words. This creative aspect of language and how we use it is what Chomsky calls, quote, the infinite use of finite means. With a limited set of words and rules, we can generate endless novel expressions. So while language models can produce new combinations of words, Chomsky would argue they're just recombining patterns they've seen rather than demonstrating true creativity. He points out to the fact that when these models make mistakes, they often reveal they're just manipulating symbols without understanding, like confidently generating nonsensical citations or inventing fake historical events. I see this all the time when it generates lines of code, right? Because I've reviewed a lot of generated code, and I've seen firsthand how AI can produce solutions that look creative, but actually will recombine patterns from its training. And often one of the big problems that I'll see it do is it'll include this library, which is a mythical library, simply because it doesn't know how to solve a particular problem. So it'll be like this function off this library, and neither the function or the library actually exist. This limitation shows up most dramatically when AI tries to solve truly novel problems it couldn't encounter in the training data. Now, if your company's trying to solve some truly novel problems and they're having a hard time getting systems to connect, reach out to us, because here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems so your company can work like a well-oiled machine. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer, and we'd love to help you out. Now, not everyone agrees with Chomsky's assessments, and many AI researchers argue that his criticism missed the mark in important ways. Critics point out that Chomsky's own theories of language have faced significant challenges over the decades, with many linguists rejecting his universal grammar hypothesis. Some researchers suggest that understanding might emerge from statistical patterns. That meaning itself could be understood as relationships between words and concepts. The fact that language models can perform complex reasoning tasks, like solving math problems they weren't explicitly trained on, suggests there might be more than just pattern matching happening under the hood. Now, in my development career, I've repeatedly seen emergent behaviors arise from systems that were designed with relatively simple rules. But this debate touches on a fundamental question about the nature of intelligence itself. Is understanding something fundamentally different from extremely sophisticated pattern recognition? So, one of Chomsky's strongest criticisms is that language models lack grounding in physical reality, but this limitation is actively being addressed in current research. Multimodal models that combine language with vision, like GPT-4V, are beginning to create connections between world and visual reality to some extent. Embodying AI research is exploring how to give AI system physical bodies that can interact with the world, potentially addressing some grounding problems. Now, I believe that we're starting to see some interesting things with AI. Like, I have given a lot of free code samples, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, because I give a ton of free code samples that specifically show you how to plug LLMs for free, build your own DIY PC for under $500, right? Like, so you can start coding against AI for specific real world use cases, not some of this pie in the sky things like AGI. So I like to show you real world how to use it. So I'm definitely of the mind that AI is here. It's a good tool for us to use, but I think we need to be realistic about what its very real opportunities are, right? I'm very pragmatic in my perspective. The philosophical debate about true understanding, and it's going to continue and many are trying to reach for it, right? But I've seen a lot of debates about the right way to build systems that ultimately matter less than whether the system delivers value to the users. The pragmatic view, this pragmatic view doesn't dismiss Chomsky's concerns, but suggests that they might be more relevant to cognitive science than to practical applications of AI. So perhaps we should treat AI not as artificial human intelligence, but as a fundamentally different kind of tool, one that achieves similar results through a very complex system of very fast pattern matching. I believe there's a middle ground here, right? As with many complex debates, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle between Chomsky's critical position, and I think he has a right to be critical of it because I think ultimately he's right, and the AI optimist enthusiasm, right? Current language models can do some very interesting things. However, they hallucinate facts. They struggle with certain types of reasonings. They lack common sense, and they don't understand, and they're ultimately confidently wrong. That's one of their biggest problems. They produce these word salads that Chomsky was talking about. So the most productive approach might be to acknowledge both the remarkable achievements of the modern AI and its very real limitations. And that's why I produce a lot of easy code samples for you guys to follow to start to build against some of the LLMs and show you how to set up a server so you're not spending tens of thousands of dollars per month. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? My best compliment is when you guys leave a comment down below. So make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment down below, because here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out, because we'd love to help. Hit the link down below and check out, and here's some great information about our coding boot camps. And you can catch us at startuphack.com/Spencer.
Want to become a software developer but don't want to spend 4 years in college and rack up massive student loan debts? Think you need technical expertise to get started? Welcome to Startup Hack, a better way to start your software career without student loans and years without income. One-on-one tutoring is included so you never get stuck and have guidance through the whole process. No technical experience is necessary. Learn at your own pace and in your own space. Startup Hack has worked with local state agencies in your area to make it so that qualifying students can get the program costs covered entirely and students can start earning while they learn.
Startup Hack's .NET Coding Bootcamp was a game changer for my career. As someone with no prior programming experience, I was initially intimidated by the idea of learning to code, but the instructors at Startup Hack broke down complex concepts into easy to understand lessons and provided hands-on projects that really cemented my understanding. The curriculum was comprehensive and up to date and got me ready for my first job. What really set Startup Hack apart was the focus on practical, real-world skills. Thanks to Startup Hack, I landed my dream job as a .NET developer within weeks of graduating. I went from knowing nothing about code to building professional-grade web applications in just a few intense months. If you're looking to break into .NET development or level up your coding skills, I cannot recommend Startup Hack enough.
Complete our 3-month coding bootcamp, gain hands-on experience, and land a paid internship. With 2 years of experience on average, our graduates are making over $80,000 per year. The 3-month program includes technologies from Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. No debt, just a quick path to earning. Check out startuphack.com to code